invited to Spain to open the new ground of Barcelona. And there in the final, they played Notts County in a competition for the Barcelona Cup. St Mirren came out on top in this one, winning by 2-1 after extra time, and the scorer of both goals, who else? Donkey Walker. Donkey continued to be in scoring form for the rest of the trip, and when St Mirren came home, they brought the magnificent trophy with them, then valued at 50 guineas. St Mirren fans reckon this is the first trophy ever won by a Scottish club in Europe. 4 years later, St Mirren tasted real success in the 1926 Scottish Cup final against Celtic. They had a side full of outstanding players and current internationalists. Their captain was goalkeeper Jock Bradford, the survivor of Barcelona. Willie Summers, a redoubtable centre-half and a noted club servant. Tom Morrison, fierce tackling but silky wing half. Jimmy Howison, an inside left who was later with Hull City. And at centre, leading scorer for 7 consecutive seasons, Davy McRae. Remembering that day as a small boy, former chairman and current director of the club, Willie Todd.
Well, it's a long time ago, and as you say, I was only 6 years of age. I don't recollect a great deal about it. I remember the one thing that did stick in my mind, my mother had on a black and white coat that day, and I also remember taking the tram to Paisley Road Toll and walking from Paisley Road Toll to Hampden, because in those days, if you went by special train, you were taking your life in your hand because it was really quite chaotic. And while it took a long time to walk from the Toll to Hampden, at least you were safe enough and you got there.
And get there they did. For those who didn't in those days of few radios, if you wanted a taste of the atmosphere and action at Hampden, you were dependent on football comedian Sammy Shields.
Scottish Cup, St Mirren. This is Hampden Park. Here's the St Mirren, the captain, Bradford. Good old Bradford. Good old Bradford. St Mirren have won the toss. Good. There they go. There they go. They're the back of their goal. Good kick. Corner. 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 Now then the careful Morrison. And out for the win now. Oh, what a beauty. Jump to the ball. It's a goal!
Few can remember Sammy Shields now, but Willie Todd remembers one more crucial detail about that marvellous day.
I can remember going to La Scala that evening and seeing the newsreel in the La Scala in the evening.
And they could see the newsreel in the La Scala from 7 o'clock on the night of the match. Celtic played in white, a strip they were never to wear again. It was thought to be unlucky by their fans. The crowd was over 100,000, the first time this figure had ever been exceeded, and they saw St Mirren in the attack early on. Davy McRae got the first goal after only 3 minutes, too early for many St Mirren supporters who were delayed in a hold-up in the Cathcart Circle. They did, however, see Jimmy Howison add a second goal in the 25th minute, and the match seemed safe, but Celtic came battling back. They thought they'd scored on this occasion when Jimmy McGrory clearly imagined the ball had crossed the line, but Jock Bradford scrambled it clear and Saints held on comfortably enough. Each man received £8 for his efforts and a bottle of whisky. In a heroic act of self-denial, Dave McRae said he wouldn't drink his till the cup came back to Paisley. 10 years on, that side had broken up, but Jimmy McGregor pleased the fans with frequent goal-scoring. Jimmy McCloy, father of Peter, kept him out at the other end. Johnny Latimer could play outside or inside right, fast and tricky. Most supporters preferred him in the wing. Bobby Ansell, classic full-back and, of course, manager of Motherwell in the future. Jimmy Knox, scourge of Scottish goalkeepers, prolific goal-scorer, arguably the possessor of the hardest shot in the game of football. By this time, Dave McRae was near retirement and not in the 1934 final side, which read McCloy, Hay, Ansell, Gebby, Wilson, Miller, Knox, Latimer, McGregor, McCabe, Phillips. Much fancied Rangers were expected to win, and as Willie Todd remembers, they did exactly that.
Paisley was in a real fervour of excitement over this cup. We're all sure we're going to win it. And in the Cossey side, the cooperative shop in Cossey side, Jimmy Knox's boots were in the window with the caption, "Watch those boots on Saturday." Unfortunately, on Saturday, we were lost 5-0. And I can remember having walked from Paisley Road Toll to Hampden, I think I cried the whole way back.
The Love Street minutes were suitably laconic in commenting on the final. Bad is all they could manage to say. Perhaps in reaction to this, St Mirren in 1935 went down to the second division for the first time in their history. But as often happens, relegation proved something of a spur, and the forward line of Latimer, Knox, McGregor, McCammon and Gall took them back to where they rightfully belonged, the first division, Saints scoring 114 goals in the process. Even Rangers, when they came to Love Street in the Scottish Cup, were glad enough to get away with a 2-1 win, and the crowd, well over 40,000, put a smile on Saints bank manager's face. For in football, as in the wider world, times were hard in the 30s. Around this time, James Horsburgh died. He had been a great servant and benefactor to St Mirren over the years. To turn a penny, St Mirren bid for a world title fight. Jackie Jurich, Benny Lynch. There should have been 30,000 there, but Lynch weighed in not for the first time, significantly overweight, and the crowd was halved. By 1939, the world was at war again, and Paisley was grim, silent, dark much of the time. But the mills were running at full throttle and there was prosperity in the town, even although you had to look quite closely to find a young man of military age still left at home. The guest player once more was king. Even Bill Shankly turned out for St Mirren on one occasion. But there was a day on July the 10th, 1943, when the hooter went and all Paisley feet were directed towards Hampden. There St Mirren were playing Rangers, a side that had changed little since the war, with the exception of Willie Thornton, who was in the next column winning a military medal in Sicily. The previous week, over 2 titanic struggles, St Mirren had beaten Morton, a Morton side which included Stanley Matthews and Tommy Lawton. Saints had their players too, of course, notably Johnny Deacon and Dan McGarry on the left wing, and at centre forward, a young miner, Alec Linwood. Today, almost 50 years later, Alec Linwood reminisces with Morton winger of the day, Johnny Kelly.
Well, I think we took the lead, Willie, at Alec.
Oh, you took the lead in both games.
Because I scored the first goal, I think.
Did you?
I think so, yes. Mind you, that's memory-wise. I might be wrong, but I scored one goal anyway. I don't know whether it was the first.
I don't have a great recollection of that.
But I remember...
the 2 games, really. It's the final that I remember more. But I think at the end of the 2 games, St Mirren probably deserved to get through to the final, but no more than that. Morton were a good team.
Well, I like what Alex says, I've got to agree with him, without a doubt. I thought your centre half had a brilliant game.
Kelly.
Willie Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was playing against
Lawton. Yes,
Tommy Lawton. And to play well against Tommy Lawton's no mean feat, I think.
I would say he fought all St Mirren players' battles. If someone was annoying a forward, Willie says, I'll be up at the first corner kick. And he was that type of player that he sort of fought the other players' battles. But a very, very nice man.
And a good centre half.
Oh, excellent.
In the final, however, it was Alec Linwood who stole the show with the only goal of the match.
I didn't see it get into the net because I was quite surprised when I picked myself up off the ground that they were all diving the top of me because I'd toppled over when I'd swung at the ball, so that was it. And we managed to last the game and win 1-0.
Alec Linwood didn't see that goal, but the fans did, and they celebrated in dramatic if unorthodox fashion. Some of the players took the Summer Cup to the Victory Theatre that night. Who cared about Rex and his Hawaiians or Hal Mack and his Dancing Demons when the Summer Cup was on display? After the war, new names made the headlines. Telfer, Milne, Reid, Burrell, Les. And as always, the ones that got away. That great inside forward Billy Steele. And that superb prince of goalkeepers, Jimmy Cowan. How Saints could have used them in the years to come. It was a time of great attendances. 15 to 20,000 would stream down Love Street on a Saturday afternoon, even for run-of-the-mill matches. There was no doubt when a home game was in progress. One name that was to be legendary over the next 13 years was Davy Lapsley, signed from the unlikely stable of Tranmere Rovers in bizarre circumstances.
I was supposed to go and play a month's trial with Everton when I was demoted.